Welcome to another episode of Mental Health Mondays, where we talk to professionals that are in the mental health space, mental health advocates, or those who experience or live with a mental health challenge. And I just want to remind you as you jump on here, make sure you smash down that subscribe button, tell all your friends, share. Let's get this party rolling. But I am so excited to bring up my friend Liz, who is coming to us from London. So let me add her in here. Hi Liz, thank you so much for joining me today.
You're more than welcome, Kelly. I feel like I'm on Eurovision Song Contest. I'm coming from London.
Right, she's coming all the way from London. Yeah,
Definitely.
what time is it there right now?
It's 6 o'clock in the evening, but it's still light. It's still light. It doesn't get dark till about 10 o'clock, and I love it.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's been, in Colorado, probably about 9 o'clock, and it's like throwing me off because I'm like, I should be in bed or something, but it's still bright outside.
Excellent.
So tell our audience a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, certainly. Okay, so I run my own mental health and wellbeing charity, and extremely passionate about mental health and helping people with mental health. I'm a trained therapist as well, qualified therapist, more on the holistic side, actually. So dealing with children and adults as well. And I also deliver training. So we do mental health first aid training in order to give people the confidence and ability to spot signs and symptoms before a crisis develops. So that's me. I also have, my diagnosis is bipolar, but mainly psychosis. So I do a lot of talks educating people with regards to psychosis. Because there's a big fear factor, Kelly. There's a big fear factor with psychosis.
Oh, yeah. I remember, the first time that we talked, I was like, you're like my counterpart, but in London. And because we do mental health first aid classes also here. And then I know you told me your story or your journey through psychosis. Do you want to tell a little bit about that?
Yeah, certainly. I was first diagnosed back in 2003. I knew what the depression was because I'd been in clinical depression. So I knew what that was based on trauma, things like that. Not opening out, not talking about it, suppressing it for years. But then the other end of the psychosis was where I lost rationalization, thinking that I had superpowers, and I had to be sectioned to actually prevent myself from taking my own life, but not knowing that was going to happen. If that makes sense, because I didn't realize that I would have done because I just lost rationalization. So I was sectioned, subsequently sectioned numerous times, because in denial about the diagnosis. And bearing in mind, back in 2003, mental health wasn't as talked about as it is now. So there's a lot of stigma, a lot of judgment, and I hid away for about 5 years. Got sectioned 5 years after that as well, every year, but not understanding my psychosis. But I've done a lot of research over the last 21 years, and I now know, in my belief, what psychosis is, but also retrained as a therapist to support other people with regards to that as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I know the experience of psychosis. You're out of your mind, not knowing what's happening. And I know when you and I talked that first time, you said that somebody recorded you or at one point you were recorded because you didn't actually understand what was happening. And so going back and potentially watching that, have you done that yet? Or I know the last time we talked, you're like, I don't know if I want to or not, or...
Do you know what, Kelly? It's very interesting because we want to run like some educational videos on psychosis, so people can actually see what I am like, that I can hold down a perfectly, a good job, but also see the other side of me when I have been in psychosis. And I've not as yet had the confidence to watch it because I think, I don't know, it's quite... When you are in psychosis, it can be one of the most frightening experiences, but also a state of euphoria. And within that psychotic episode, I was fluctuating between the two with paranoia, euphoria. So I haven't had the confidence, I must admit, to watch it, but I will, because my partner recorded it, which is good, because then people will see the two and probably be quite taken back to think, oh my goodness, was that really Liz? You know? Mm.
Yeah, I know. And I think I had told you about this, but when I was going to school and in my psychology class in abnormal psychology, we had a woman that she came in and told her story about postpartum psychosis that she experienced. And I mean, it it unfortunately led to an event where she killed two of her children. And for her, like, she goes out and speaks about it now because I feel like all of us know postpartum depression, but psychosis is something that we don't talk enough about. And the thing that I love, we both do mental health first aid classes, and they're talking more in those classes now about psychosis, which I think is really important. So understanding how you can shift and really truly you're out of your mind. It's just the experience that you don't understand what's happening, and then coming or going through that and being able to share your experience, I think, is really important too.
Oh, 100%. And there is a big fear factor, and the media doesn't help, I must admit. However, if we do, and I'm so pleased that lady is talking out, because that must have been hard for her to do that, especially like what you've said. But I get it because I've experienced it, and I suppose when someone talks about it, you'd understand from their perspective or what they were going through, what happened. Does that make sense? So because they're, you know, when someone portrays it or the media portrays it, you don't know the full story, or you don't know what's going on. And I think that's very brave for that lady to actually speak out massively.
Yeah. And I know, I mean, in the United States, I feel like here it's a little bit more like it's kind of like this mainstream thing now, right? Like we're all talking about mental health. We're all talking about why it's important. And I think that's great. But I also feel like there's those underlying things that we're still not having the conversation about. And I know when you and I spoke before, London, it's there, but like it's almost this like unspoken, like they still haven't broken through that barrier of starting to talk about any of it, really.
It's getting better, Kelly, massively. We have noticed a shift, especially since COVID. There are more people talking out, but there's still a long way to go. And we found that here, especially in the UK or in where I live just outside London, mental health has gone through the roof. Like people are being triggered, and they've never experienced mental health challenges in their life, and now all of a sudden they have. So people are talking out, but it needs to be encouraged. And also we need to encourage people without judgment. And I think that's one of the biggest things. It's all well talking about it, like you said, Kelly, but I think it's really important to actively listen as well. We have Time to Talk Day, but you need to listen to what people are saying and without judgment. And when we do our mental health first aid training, that's one of the biggest things that we talk about is no judgment.
Yeah. And I know that's probably, I mean, when I first took the first class, right? And I was like, no judgment. I was like, that sounds so easy. But then actually doing that, it's so hard because I know at least as humans, I feel like we're conditioned to listen to respond instead of just listening and then not judging, like based off of our experiences with others. And so, yeah, I think that's so important. I always, every time I teach those classes, I'm like, non-judgmental, not judgmental, so
I know,
try to
but
lock it in.
do you know what, Kelly? You're right, because we are as humans conditioned. It's called unconscious bias, where automatically, without us even thinking, we make up our own opinion of the way that why the person, the way they're dressed, by the way they look, before they've even opened their mouth. And you think, why has that just happened in my brain? I didn't even control that. Oh my goodness, that's so unfair. So I think you're right. It's the way we're wired. It's the same sort of concept, the way we're wired. And you'll understand this with psychology. is that we're wired to think negatively, and it's very hard to challenge that negative thought process and to think from a positive perspective,
Yeah. And that's a great point too. I know even with all the training that I have and all the certifications, right? The understanding of my emotions and everything, I still know that I get in those negative cycles too. And even with every resource that I have possible, I myself start looping, right? It's like I can't get myself out of this loop, but I know how to. I'm just not doing it. And so I think that's important too, is like these negative cycles that our thoughts start going into, and how do we get out of that, and or find the resources to be able to do that. So yeah, that's also a really great point too.
Well, I often say when we do the training or therapy, that the overwhelming thought that mindfulness is very good. I mean, I teach that, and people, I often hear people say, "Oh, I can't meditate, I can't do this," but the more you practice it, I always say, "Did you learn to ride a bike when you were younger? Did you learn an instrument? Do you drive?" And they say yes. And I said, "Well, what did you do?" And they went, "Well, practice." I said, "Well, it's the same concept. When you realize how powerful the mind is, and how much, when you do learn to control it rather than let it control you, and how it manifests physically in your body, you would spend so much more time looking after it, like self-care and walking out in nature." And I know it sounds cheesy, Kelly, and I know it does, when I sometimes teach my mindfulness and say, "Look, smell the shampoo when you have a shower," or watch, and people go, "Yeah, right, Liz." But it does work, because it's about not only training your body, it's about training your mind. And it does sound really, but it is about training your thought process to bring it back down, so you can manage the challenges that come our way and things like that. And you've got the capacity in your mind to cope with what's coming your way, because it does. Daily life is a challenge, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I mean, that just made my brain. I was just thinking about my son. Every time he takes a shower, he loves the smell of his shampoo. And so every time I like lather it up and he's like, "Let me smell it." And so I let him smell it. And so, yeah, it is. I mean, I didn't ever think of it in that way. So yeah, that even triggered. I'm like, oh yeah, that's really great. It's like those small things. It doesn't have to be like this large thing that you do every single day. It can be just those simple, small things.
Exactly, Kelly. And you can actually incorporate it into your daily life. So you just do it, rather than, like you've just said with your son, which is fantastic, is having a shower, rather than worry about what's going to be, what you're having for dinner or what's coming next, is like you just said, smell the shampoo. So he's doing it because he's using part of his senses in order to train his mind to bring him back to the present moment. And that's what it's all about, which is fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, smell my shampoo more often, Yeah. I know another thing. So when we had originally talked, especially like in the UK and London, mental health, there's such a stigma around it. And so I know you had told me that you use the word minds, right? Instead of mental health.
So when I do deliver my training, I always say to people, it was quite, I did a talk the other day actually to this group, and I said, right, who has mental health here? One person put their hand up, and I went, right, well, let me just change this for you. And they all looked at me and went, like, I said, you all have it. And they all went, what? And I went, remove the word mental, because there's a lot of judgment and stigma in the word mental because of past, like crazy, you have to be locked up, and replace it with mind health. And they all went, oh yeah. And it was like a realization. I do have mental health, because it is about emotions, it's about feelings and behaviors, and we all have it. The whole world has mental health. There's a very big difference between mental ill health. So it's quite interesting when I do say, and I remember I did it to a class of children. Bless them, they were between the ages of 5 and 10, I think. And I said, who has mental health here? And they were like, oh, I'm not sure. Anyway, this one girl, she's only 6. She went, you should all put your hands up. She goes, because we all have mental health. And I was like, my goodness, who is this child? Who is this child? Who knows? It was hilarious. And she actually said, because we all have minds. And I went, bravo. Do you know what I mean? Bravo.
You're like, can you just follow me around? Can
I
you like be in
know.
my audience everywhere?
Yeah,
That's
it was just
awesome.
fantastic. It was fantastic. And also another thing I just want to share, Kelly. Sorry, you'll have to stop me talking because I'll just go off.
No, you're good.
Is about communication and language. I find that this changes on a daily basis, and I use what's called, and I've nicked this off someone, the toothpaste challenge, right? The toothpaste challenge, Kelly. So basically, what you do is if you want to talk about the communication language, you talk about toothpaste challenge. So you get a pot of like toothpaste, and the challenge is you squeeze it out. And the challenge is to get the toothpaste back up into the tube, right? And people go, well, you can't. And I went, exactly. So I say that the analogy with this is think before you speak, because when it comes out of your mouth, and if it's judgmental or negative, you can't take it back. And they're like, oh my goodness. I love using analogies, Kelly. Honestly, serious, I love it.
Yeah, no, I love that. I mean, I know like the first time we talked, I never thought of like the mind's health, right? Instead of mental health. And so that was super eye-opening for me. And I was like, oh, that's brilliant. And then yeah, I love the toothpaste challenge because it's true. Like you can't get the toothpaste back in the into the container. So yeah, if you think about the words that you're using, like although you could say sorry or you can like try to say a different word or whatever, but it still is never going to go back to where it was. So yeah, I love that also.
No, I know. It's just language is very important. And when I speak to adults, because the suicide rate is extremely high in men over the age of 40, and we talk about language, and then I said, well, when we were younger, and even myself, you know, the language was stop crying, stop being a crybaby, pull your socks up and things like that. So no wonder, you know, people are thinking, well, my emotions, I shouldn't be showing them, especially with men as well. And now it's the language that I was brought up with. And now they're expected to share things, and it's not easy. You know, it's not easy to talk about how they feel, or because of what perhaps they've been grown up with, the language that was used. So it makes it has a huge effect, and people don't realize, you know.
Yeah, we just had our annual film festival in May, and we had a film actually that was called Sticks and Stones, and it was all about like men and their like grow up, suck up, be a man, like all these words. And it was an animation, but it was all about like the male like masculinity, like what does masculinity mean? And it was really impactful, especially like my fiance, right? Like he very much grew up with that, like suck it up, get over it, right? The mentality of military family. And so that film was really impactful for him to see and hear the words that can potentially affect you from your parents saying them to you when you're little, and then what's your identity. Like it really was centered around identity. So yeah, that's really important too, is the words that we say to ourselves, the words that we say to others. And that's something that I always talk about is it really can affect you. So how do we shift from that negative into that positive? So
yeah, no, definitely, Kelly. And I'll have to watch that, because that saying is so true. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but names will never hurt me. And I'm thinking, yes, they do. Names do hurt you. I remember when I was younger, Kelly, literally, I was the tallest in my class. I had no boobs. And I was called a lanky streak of piss, fried eggs, and everything. And I was bullied. Cheers for that one. You know, so lacked confidence, insecurities like you wouldn't believe. And the names that I was called, yes, they did hurt. My goodness. So what a fantastic that someone's done it in an animation, you know. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I'll send you a link and you can watch it. It's pretty good. Yeah. So tell me a little bit more about your organization, or tell the folks.
Yes. Okay. So we are a local based charity, and we deal with coaching, mentoring, delivering training, any kinds of training, mental health first aid, but also well-being like confidence, assertiveness, anxiety, you know, anything to help people with their mind health, but also their physical as well. So we do a lot of dance. We work with other dance instructors. We do creative art workshops, combined arts, healing. So I'm a holistic therapist, but also I'm a crystal and Reiki healer, so I love all the spiritual stuff. Oh my goodness, I absolutely love it. And also, what else do we deliver? My goodness, workshops. We do family workshops, so parents working with their children, because I think it's very important that they do that and integrate, because if we do work with children, we need to get the parents' involvement as well, because then they can work together as a unit, and they can continue after the workshops in order to sort of carry it on in their everyday life. So yeah. And I do events. We're trying to arrange, you'll have to come over, Kelly. We're trying to arrange a wellbeing festival next year. And I want it to be no judgment, free your mind. So everybody from every background, inclusivity, diversity, come on, let's get involved and be yourself, be your true self, and speak your truth. So
yeah, that would be amazing. Yes, definitely let me know when you're going to be doing that for sure. Yeah. That's all. I know that the first time when we talked and we met, I was like, man, like it really showcases that there's no borders, right? Like mental health spans the whole United States. And I know that we're all having very similar experiences across the board. It doesn't matter if you're in UK, if you're in Germany, Australia, wherever you are, the United States, right? Like we're all starting to really come around to this idea that it is important to understand and be mindful with everything that we do. And so, yeah, I think the more of us that can talk about it, the more of us that can get educated, the more things. And I love that you use the like creative arts, like dance is 100% my thing. So, I think that the movement of body and energy and all of that is just really incredible. So I'm so glad that you have your own charity that you're able to provide all these services.
Yeah, no, thank you, Kelly. And do you know what? I love it. I'm so passionate. I was in the corporate field for years, and I think COVID gave me the confidence. I mean, Heads2minds been around for years, but it's always been voluntary. So I've worked with the NHS here, the police as well, but it's always been voluntary. And I think COVID gave me the confidence to think, I need to follow my passion. So I applied for charity. It did take me a year, but I was not giving up. But now it's been running for over a year now. It's a year and a half. And I absolutely love it because we can see we're making a difference to people's lives. And it's so important to me, having lived experience as well and been there and been through it. And also now I can help others in order to show them that with the right kind of support and tools and techniques, you can and will get through it. It might be a little bit of a long journey. It might be baby steps. And it's not easy. It's not easy, and it can be extremely challenging, and you might take 10 steps back before you take some forward, but never ever give up. Please never give up, because I wouldn't be where I was today without the support of my family and friends, but also believing in myself as well. So a lot of it is work on yourself and self-reflection as well.
Yeah, no, I think all of that is just so much goodness. And I know that personally, I mean, BCC Evolution offers mental health first aid USA version. And then I've done a couple podcasts like in the UK, and I always I'm like, I know somebody that does it in the UK. So, because there are different versions depending on where you're at. So you're definitely my go-to person if I have anybody that wants to learn more about mental health in general. And then, I love being able to collaborate across the board anyways. And I'd love to come out to London.
Have you not been here, Kelly? Have you not been to London?
No, I have never. The farthest I've been is the islands. So Hawaii is US, but the Virgin Islands and the British Islands are the farthest I've ever been. So
oh my goodness, you're gonna have to come over. I traveled the States when I was younger, when I was 21, long time ago, but it was beautiful. I absolutely loved it. And I went to Colorado. I absolutely love it. But the UK has got so much history, there's so much. You'll have to come over 100%. But also that's really interesting that you said about mental health first aid and the different in the US and the UK, because I work with some global companies, and now I've got your details and I've clocked them. I will use your service because they've got offices in the US, so nice. I can use your services.
Yeah, so we can collaborate. Yes. Yeah, we can. Yeah, I just actually last month got my teen certification, and so I have adult, youth, and the teen certification at this point because I really want to get into schools. So
Yes.
yeah,
That's
but
fantastic, Kelly. Fantastic. Really good.
yeah, we'll definitely have to collaborate on that level.
Mm.
So any final words or things that you want to share, tips, tricks? I mean, I know nobody likes anybody's advice, but you never know.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose it's also about helping yourself. You know, when we do our therapy, we suggest or we recommend different management, you know, tools and techniques. We do talking therapy, but also we do more of the subconscious mind work. But it is about helping yourself. There's no point. I'm very open and direct, especially with my therapy. And I say to someone, look, I can help you, I can support you, but if you don't help yourself as well, I might as well be talking to a brick wall. And so it is about listening to people and taking on board what resonates with you, and what works for you, because we are all different, we're all unique. You know, I've done a lot of therapy in my time, CBT, counselling. Oh my goodness, I can't even list it down. I'm going to roll it all out, but it's what works for you. And some things did work, and some things didn't. So it's finding a therapist who you get on with, who you can build rapport with, but also what works for you. But I would recommend, if you are feeling that you're alone, you're not alone. Talk out, because believe me, since I've been speaking out, you realize that there's so many paid people that go through challenges. They might be different, but you're not alone. And ignore people if they're going to be judgmental. That's just their bag. It's not you. You carry on shining your light and making a difference in this world, because you do. And, you know, I'm more than happy to support anyone who's listening in the UK or even in the US, you know. I do like the US 100%. I love it when I traveled there. So, yeah. I will zip up now.
No, you're good. Do you have clients from across the world, or do you mainly in the UK?
It's mainly in the UK. However, I do deal with people in the UK, US as well. As in, I speak to them. Not so much therapy, no, because it's UK. I suppose our charity is UK, but I have different partnerships in different parts of the US. So
Okay.
yeah.
That's
and other
great to
countries
know.
as well. Going global,
Awesome.
Kelly. Going global. Going global.
Don't go global, did you say?
I said no. I'm going global.
Oh,
I'm going global.
yes, go global. I was like, don't go global? What?
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
Because you can connect. You can do like a little connect with yourself in the US, and then you can do someone else. And if we're all like-minded, spreading the word and raising awareness and making a difference, then it's meant to be, isn't it? You know?
Yeah, I know. I feel like the more of us that we can just get together, that we can definitely make an impact across the board.
Yes.
So yes, absolutely. Yeah. So if anybody wants to find you, how can they find you and more about your organization?
Okay, so we are on Facebook. We're also on Instagram. Can't get my head around Instagram at the moment. Someone said to me to do TikTok, and I was like, "Oh, I was like, what's going on TikTok?" And they went, "Oh, you'd be great doing it." I was like, "Really?" So website is www.heads2minds.co.uk. But yeah, we're on Facebook and Instagram, and LinkedIn as well. So, but that's more me on LinkedIn. So yeah, please reach out, and I'm more than happy. We also have on our website Share and Care, where people share their stories. So if anyone wants to have their blog and share their story, it will help other people. And we do work with other charities, we work with other organisations, we work with other therapists. So if you want to be part of the charity or on the website, then please let me know, because we're more than happy to spread the love.
Yeah. And I dropped all of your links and everything in the comments
you.
below. So if anybody wants to reach out to Liz, please reach out to her, check out her charity. Again, we're like counterparts in different sides of the world, but we're all coming together for the same message and the same overall need, or to fill the need of mental health or mind health. So, yeah. Well, Liz, I really, really appreciate you jumping on with me today. And any last final words?
No, just thank you very much, Kelly, for reaching out, and good luck with your show. I do think you do a fantastic job. And send me that video. I'd like to look at the the film Sticks and Stones.
Yes, definitely. I will. Thank you so much. I appreciate you joining me.
That's all right. Thank you.
All right, y'all. That was another amazing Mental Health Mondays with Liz coming from London. Sounds like a game show, right? But I think what is important here is that, again, mental health it doesn't have any borders. We all have mental health. Not all of us have a mental health disorder or illness, but those that do can share their experience and their journey. And I think that is just even more important than just talking about it. And like Liz says, non-judgmental, like as much as you can listen non-judgmentally, that is super important. I love the mind health versus mental health because there's so much stigma. So that's always stuck with me ever since the first time I talked to her. So I am just so blessed that she was able to jump on and share her journey, her experience, and her charity. And again, we are here every single Monday at 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. We talk to guests who are professionals in the mental health space, those who experience or live with a mental health challenge, or mental health advocates. And you can be a guest on our show too. All you have to do is reach out. All of the information is below. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, smash down that button, tell all your friends about it. And we, again, BCC Evolution is a 501c3 nonprofit, and we bring all of this education to you and these shows and everything, but we can't do it alone. So only with $20 or more per month, you can become a warrior for mental health yourself and show the world that you too are an advocate for mental health, and you get these cool shirts. So why not? Find more information below, and I will see you next week. Bye, y'all.